In just a second. There we go. I now call this meeting of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association Student Senate to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to begin our Student Senate meeting taking place on Thursday, February 8th, 2024, with a land acknowledgement. We recognize that Kansas State University, as the first land-grant institution, stands on the ancestral lands of the Kaw people. Our state of Kansas is home to 4 federally recognized Native nations: the Iowa, Kickapoo, Prairie Band Potawatomi, and Sac and Fox. We must remember that the land serving as the foundation for this institution was and still is stolen land acquired by white settlers. We pledge our commitment to creating decolonized spaces at the university while advocating for the support and future success of Indigenous faculty, staff, and students at K-State. With that, Speaker Pro Tem Kappelman will take it away with our first roll call.
Good evening, everyone. Atchison, Bellamy, Biggs, Blood.
Here.
Broughton.
Here.
Bruckner.
Here.
Koch.
Here.
Cuesta.
Here.
Cupp.
Here.
Dennis. Drotz.
Here.
Fogel. Glasscock.
Here.
Griffith.
Here.
Haynes.
Here.
Hartzell. Heatherman.
Here.
Hesseltine.
Here.
Hoffmans.
Here.
Holst. Hunley. Jacobson.
Here.
Kirchen. Kidd.
Here.
Kermer. Kinsey. Lilly.
Here.
Long.
Here.
Lynn.
Here.
Mason.
Here.
Melcher. Moore.
Here.
Okay. O'Malley. Oury. Pelton. Peterson.
Here.
Rios. Rivard. Rodriguez Melendez. Rogers. Syat Carly.
Here.
Syat Nick.
Here.
Salmon. Streetman. Strunk. West. Winger. Wolf. Okay.
Here.
And Zacko.
Here.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Now we'll move into our first open period. Oh, Senator Koch?
Did you get Kermer?
Yes.
Okay.
First up, we have Athletics Director Gene Taylor. Please close your laptops for our speaker.
There we go. Is that on? There we go. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I always love to come and give you an update when I can, and just to give you an update quickly on athletics and kind of where we are. And I will tell you that a year ago, in a year since I was here last, things have changed a great deal in the world of college athletics, not just with K-State, but with our conference and everything else. Since last time I spoke, we added 8 new members, 4 of which started competing this year in the Big 12, and 4 will start next year. Our athletes now have the ability to make money off of their name, image, and likeness, and we are facing probably the most crucial time in college athletics that we've ever faced in regards to the number of lawsuits that we're facing as an industry, not necessarily K-State, and where this thing's going. Obviously, we've had a tremendous year from an athletic competitive standpoint, football, basketball this year so far. Obviously, last year, our run in football, our run in the Elite Eight in basketball, men's basketball this year. Our women's basketball has been phenomenal, where they're ranked and how they're playing. For those of you that had an opportunity to watch our volleyball team this year, that venue is turned into another rocking venue for our women's volleyball program. Although they didn't quite make the NCAA tournament, they had a tremendous year, beating teams like Texas and BYU in 3 straight. So overall, it was a great year athletically. But the world of college athletics is changing. Our world, as we face more and more challenges, whether we're going to share our revenue with our student athletes, whether the athletes are going to become employees, these are all multiple lawsuits that we're facing. I think there are 9 lawsuits facing the NCAA at this point. Most of them are about student athletes' rights, some about employment, some about Title IX, some about pay for play. And we don't know where it's going. As an athletic director, a group of athletic directors, when I go to meetings like I do the Big 12, we were just back a few weeks ago, we don't have answers for all the issues facing us in college athletics. But at the end of the day, it's still about our ability to compete and win championships, provide entertainment for our community and for our students. And I want to thank all of you as students and those of you that are leaders on this campus on how you've showed up for our programs this year. When the visiting team coaches make comments about our fans, particularly our student sections, in a positive way, that is a huge compliment. It's a huge compliment to you as students, how you support our student athletes, how you support our programs. Our coaches love it. Obviously, our athletes love it. I mentioned volleyball. The energy in our volleyball venue this year was phenomenal, mainly because of the students and the energy you bring. Football this year, I think every game, we're almost at capacity for our football attendance for our students. And this year's basketball has been the same. And as Coach Tang noted, this week after we beat KU and a few weeks ago after we beat Baylor, we did not have a court storming. Tells you kind of where you guys are as students and the respect you have for our program. Excuse me. But the fact that you saved us probably $50,000 twice by not storming the court, thank you very much. But again, the respect you've shown for our programs when coaches ask you not to do something and ask you how to behave at our games, and then visiting team coaches compliment you on the energy you bring, I think that says a lot. And wherever you represent, whatever group we represent, I hope you take that back to them, because that really means a lot to our coaches and our players. And, the last several years I've been here and I've talked about a chant that it started a little bit against KU, but when Coach Tang walked out, it pretty much ended. We now can play Sandstorm, and the chant does not rear its ugly head. So again, I think your behavior, your leadership has kind of directed some things that have changed from a culture standpoint, and it's all about you as students and you as student leaders, and I appreciate that very much. As we move forward from a facility standpoint, I think we're pretty much done for a while. We've opened, like I said, we opened up the Volleyball Olympic Training Center this fall. From a big project perspective, I think we're probably done for a while in terms of big projects. And then just remember, for those of you that don't know, that are maybe new to the Senate or aren't really familiar how we're funded, we don't receive any state funding in athletics. We receive no student fees. We receive no student discounts, and we receive no university support. So we're one of a handful of university athletic programs across the country that are 100% self-funded. So every facility you see over there that was built with 100% donations and financing. All the dollars we spend is all 100% self-funded. And that's unusual, again, in college athletics. There are many programs that rely heavily on their universities to support them, even at this level. And we're fortunate that we don't have to do that. We don't have to ask you for student fee support. And so everything we provide back to the students in an understanding that you don't have to, that the money's not coming back to us. We support our band at a significant level. Our marching band, our cheer team, we probably spent about $1.2 million or $1.3 million last year on our marching band from travel and support and operational support. We're very happy to do that because of the job they do. So I know I don't have a lot of time, but I offer up an opportunity for some questions if you have. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for me. And if anything I didn't cover, I know you guys have a lot of on your agenda, so I want to make sure you get a chance to go through your agenda. So any questions?
Awesome, thank you so much. Are there any questions? Chair Blood.
As a member of the College Football Playoff Committee, what were the discussions that you all had in regards to the Final Four teams? And did you vote to allow Florida State in the Final Four?
That's a great question. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I served 3 years on the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. It's probably one of the highlights of my career. And I joked every year that I want chaos because chaos is fun, in my opinion. Well, the chair of the committee is a good friend of mine, Boo Corrigan, and after we got through the first couple of games and Florida State won and we knew what was going on, and we go into the room probably about 11 o'clock that night, he looks at me and he says, "You got your chaos," and he said a few other colorful language with it. there was a lot of conversation. I'm not really allowed to talk about the specifics of it. They ask us not to do that for a lot of reasons, and they ask us not to tell how we voted. But I supported the 4 teams in the Final Four. And you watch in this role as a committee member, I probably watch, I don't know, hundreds of hours of college football, which is fun if you like college football. And I have a specific conference. I watch the Big Ten and I watched the MAC this year. After a while, you kind of quit watching the MAC, no offense to the MAC, but you knew they weren't going to really be part of the top 25. So then I started watching like Florida State's and other teams. And I will say that the team we saw play most of the year at Florida State became a very different team without their quarterback. And to us on the committee, it was evident. And now the people on this committee are athletic directors, but there's a lot of former coaches and a lot of former football players that held the same opinion. So it was the first time ever that we've held out an undefeated conference champ. And I will tell you that I have a lot of friends from Florida State. No, I don't have any friends from Florida State, to be honest with you. My email inbox was not pretty at times, but it was a great experience, something I'll cherish forever.
Chair Long.
Thank you for coming tonight. What is K-State's position on student athletes being compensated employees?
Well, again, another great question. I will tell you, there's a lot of, so we did a little exercise with our student athletes SAC representatives. Each sport has 2 representatives that serves their liaison and support for us from an athletic administration perspective. And we went down the list of pros and cons, and we asked them before we showed them the not necessarily the cons, about what it meant to be an employee. Before we went through all that, most every one of the student athletes on the SAC raised their hand and said, yep, I want to be an employee. And then we started going through the challenges. Well, if you're an employee, you could be fired. If you're an employee, this happens. If you're an employee, you don't get a scholarship anymore. If you're an employee, somebody's going to make more. And so they really started, we went through a list of probably, and it wasn't something we created, it was something that the Big 12 created at the Big 12 SAC. And so we asked them after we went through all of that, and not a one of them raised their hand. As I look at the options of, NIL versus revenue sharing versus employee, there might be some benefits to them becoming an employee. It might be an easier solution and a more fair solution. The challenge with that is collective bargaining. How are they going to come up with a union? We have, if it's Division I only, it's going to be 130 schools, all from different states, all from different union laws. So that's going to be a challenge. Gender equity, does gender equity come into play with employee status? Traditionally, no, but at a college campus, it may still be a part of it. So there's so many unanswered questions. I don't know how I feel about it right now until I learn more, but I do feel at some point our athletes will continue to be compensated in some way, shape, or form other than just name, image, and likeness. And then most likely is going to be some sort of revenue sharing for our athletes, but a lot more to come.
Further questions? Chair Lynn.
Yeah. Could you provide some more context for some of the decision-making behind changing the basketball tier system?
Yeah, I certainly can, and I've got a couple of helpers here. So a lot of it had to do with making sure that based on attendance records, that students had an opportunity based on how much you attended in a sporting event, and kind of take out the issue of having to stand in line. And as we saw, we knew with the success of both football and basketball, the demand was going to go up. We had to come up with a system that was rewarding those that were going to come more often. And so we shared it with the leaders a year ago and asked them, here's our plan, what do you think? And for the most part, we didn't get any negative feedback. We actually gave those that, once we changed it, an opportunity to contact the ticket office, and we only had a few call back and ask for their money back. But what it's done is it's provided us, so for instance, when we normally have a game and we'd hold seats for, say, basketball with 2,400 seats, and we knew we were going to have a sellout, but we'd only have 1,200 students show up, then that was leaving revenue on the table for us that we could have sold those seats. And that was a challenge because we were getting more and more public interest, and we were having empty seats, and then the coach would look up and there'd be a lot of empty seats. Why didn't you sell those seats, kind of thing. So we went to this system and allowed us to know, hey, we're going to have 1,800 students pick up tickets, knowing that more might show up. But then at least we knew, okay, we can sell a few of those tickets, and then we'd always have, for the most part, a sold-out house. And so let me just give you a couple of kind of pieces here. Except for the KU game, all tickets were claimed before the Tier 3 window opened, which only excluded students. So the Tier 3 window is only students that attend 1 or 0 games this season. So every other basketball game, every tier got a chance to get tickets. So nobody has been really left out. The other one was, what's the other one? So in terms of the window, the average time for students to claim tickets is 5 days, okay? So the average for Big 12 is 4 days that they have open until they claim. So it's not like they only have a couple of hours to claim. They literally have several days to claim the tickets. And so KU was the only game that any student was turned away. But of course, that's going to be the case, and it would have been the case if we hadn't had this tier system. The tier system at least allowed some students to know they don't have to stand in line for days and days and days. So it kind of took a priority based on the students that attend the game. What am I missing? Does that answer your question a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Time for questions has expired.
Chair Blood.
Move to extend the time for questions by 4 minutes.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. There are 4 more minutes. Chair Blood.
Does K-State Athletics plan to pay for a parking lot at the current location of Edwards Hall? And if so, why?
Is Edwards Hall the old police station?
Yes.
No, we're not going to pay for that, I don't think. We've got an agreement with the university that until they figure out what they're going to use for that lot, I mean, once the building gets torn down, we have that access for a football game. At some point, it may turn into something else, but we just know they don't have a long-term plan for that. But we said, well, if you tear that down, we could use it as parking, and so it becomes one of the lots that we do share revenue back to the university for that lot. We're not exactly sure how it's going to be used. It may be for more university staff as they get moved around for game day. It may be more for students. But we just know that once it's torn down and the lot is paved, and it's not going to be forever because they may come back and use that lot for something else. But it'll be kind of a shared lot just to help us with overflow for parking.
Someone on the Zoom has a question. Eric Moore. What was the stain remover they used in the basketball game?
I'm sorry, what was the what?
What was the stain remover they used in the basketball game?
I don't know what it is, but every trainer has that because it is a rule that you can't. It's better than taking the jersey off and replacing it. But they made it sound like it was some big fancy deal, but every trainer in the country has it, and I don't know what it is, but probably should ask it and market it and sell it, I guess.
Coordinator Hoffman.
Yeah, this is somewhat sadder change of topics. Why has K-State Athletics decided to affiliate with Athletes for Israel?
I'm not exactly sure what that means. I mean,
Yeah. Athletes for Israel, they sent care package to the Israel Defense Forces, and so it's just essentially outlining K-State Athletics with Israel over Palestine.
yeah, what we don't do is we don't support a specific group, but I know like the basketball team had just spent time in Israel before all happened. They went over on a tour and they had some personal relationships of people that they met and they were hosted by, and I know they sent some things specifically to those groups to thank them and to let them know they were being thought about. I don't think we actually have a public support. We obviously have a couple of athletes from Israel that are on our teams, but we try to make sure that the student athlete, like any student on campus, has the right to support whatever they have passion for supporting. But as a program, we typically don't support specific causes necessarily, but the basketball team did do some support, reach out because of the people they met while they were over there.
Are there further questions for our speaker? Seeing none, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Are there further first open period speakers this evening? Seeing none, we will move into approval of the minutes. The minutes were distributed yesterday along with the agenda and legislation tracking information. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Senator Griffith.
I have a correction for the minutes. In the previous meeting, the approval of the minutes took place before first open period, so that needs to change.
Get that done. Are there further questions or corrections for the minutes? Chair Cuesta.
I move to approve the minutes as amended. Second.
It has been moved and seconded. The minutes will stand approved. Moving on to announcements. One, merch is still available. The deadline has extended to tomorrow, February 9th at 5 p.m. If more people don't choose to order merch, price may go up for those who have already submitted their forms, or they can have their money refunded to them. We based the pricing based off of a certain number of people ordering, and we have like 13 orders in total. So yeah, please order merch and tell your friends to do the same. 2, proxies. If you're going to be absent from Student Senate, please fill out the proxy form. 3, if you'll be physically absent from Student Senate but would still like to attend via Zoom, please fill out the Student Senate Zoom request form on Org Central, and that will get sent out. 4, if you want to give props to someone in Student Senate, fill out the Senate shoutout form, and Speaker Pro Tem Kappelman will read them at the end of our meeting. 5, SGA Member of the Week is Gavin Strunk. Gavin stepped up this week as Vice Chair of the Allocations Committee by chairing the committee, as well as writing the majority of the legislation. Thank you for your dedication, Gavin. The upcoming events calendar is standard. We have all of the regular committee meetings this week. And the quote of the week is, if there's one thing I've learned in life, it's the power of using your voice. Michelle Obama. We will now move into approval of appointments. Chair Cuesta?
One thing on the upcoming events calendar is we don't have SAC this Sunday because of the Super Bowl. Forgot to tell you that.
Okay, we do not have SAC this Sunday because of the Super Bowl. Other than that, the meeting, or the schedule is correct. Now we will move into approval of appointments. We have Resolution 232463. Is there a motion to consider? Chair Blood.
I move to consider Resolution 63.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Will the author please come forward?
Resolution 232463, approval of new student senators. Authors Brian Blood, sponsors the Senate Operations Committee. Whereas there's currently one vacancy for the position of student senator for the Carl R. Ice College of Engineering, and one vacancy for the position of student senator for the College of Arts and Sciences. Whereas Philip Shirkey has been appointed to fill the vacancy for the College of Engineering by the Engineering Student Council in their capacity to fill the vacancy, and whereas Andrew Lee has been appointed to fill the vacancy for the College of Arts and Sciences by the Arts and Sciences College Caucus in their capacity to fill the vacancy. Be it resolved that Section 1, the following individual be approved as a student senator for the Carl R. Ice College of Engineering, Philip Shirkey. Section 2, the following individual be approved as a student senator for the College of Arts and Sciences, Andrew Lee.
Are there questions or corrections for the author? Chair Cuesta.
I move to approve Resolution 63 unanimously.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the resolution will stand approved. If those two individuals could come up to get sworn in.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to have you both raise your right hand. I am going to read the oath of office. You will say, I will at the end. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of Student Senator and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association.
I will.
I will.
Awesome. I'm going to have you both introduce yourself, name, pronouns, major, hometown, favorite smell.
Hi, y'all. I'm Andrew Lee. I'm from Wichita, Kansas. I am a political science major with a minor in leadership studies. And my favorite scent is lavender. I love lavender.
Hello, everyone. My name is Philip Shirky. I am from Concordia, Kansas. My major is mechanical engineering, and my favorite scent is the smell of a nice, warm coffee in 6:45 in the morning before Mac Materials. Did I forget one of your 5 things? Okay.
Thank you. You are both good to have a seat. Okay, we will now move into committee reports. Are there any committee chairs that would like to give a report tonight? Chair Blood.
Couple of things. One, from the Committee on Governing Doc Alignments, we'll be meeting tomorrow again during our weekly meeting in the Student Programs Involvement Conference Room from 10:30 to 11:30, discussing both discrepancies we found between the executive branch governing documents as well as the judicial branch. And then the other point I wanted to bring up was just a reminder on our current attendance policy that the Senate Operations Committee will be looking at this coming Tuesday in regards to you are allowed up to 3 unexcused absences from either your appointed committee or from Student Senate. Obviously, we have a broad definition of what excused means on the other side of things. But just wanted to give a reminder on that specific language and potential need for that, given some legislation that we've been talking about recently that requires 3/4 of all senators that have been sworn in to vote yes. So even if they are here, or even if they are not here and don't have a proxy, their vote basically counts as a no vote on those pieces of legislation. And so we'll be looking kind of at the enforcement of that policy in the coming weeks.
Are there any questions for Chair Blood? Seeing none, thank you. Are there further committee chairs that would like to give a report tonight? Are there any directors that would like to give a report tonight? President Stout.
It's great to be back with everyone. As you all are aware, we were in Washington, D.C. last week for the Big 12 on the Hill SGA conference. It was a great handful of days spent talking about college affordability, mental health of college students, and the name, image, and likeness policy. Next week, we will once again be taking to the halls of our more local legislative body in Topeka and talking about need-based aid, open educational resources, and deferred maintenance, capital investment stuff. So lots of advocacy going on, but just wanted to touch base with you all. It was successful. We got to meet with everyone in the Kansas delegation except for Congressman Estes' office. And then Jess and I got to meet with a few other senators as well. So very successful trip.
Are there any questions for President Stout? Seeing none, thank you. Are there further directors that would like to give a report tonight? Seeing none, we will move into approval of the allocations. First up, we have Bill 54, The 2024 student allocation to Halo. This was referred favorably, 6-0 to 0. And second, we have Bill 55, the fiscal year 2024 student allocation to the Institute of Industrial Systems Engineers, referred at favorably, 6-0 to 0. Chair Cuesta.
There is one correction on Bill 54. The recommended amount should be $1,000, not $300.
We will get that fixed. Chair Cuesta.
And then I move to approve the allocations. Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. The allocations will stand approved. We will now move into final action on Bill 23-2456, amendments to the KSU SGA bylaws to liberate college councils. Will the author please come forward? Senator Saya.
Postpone bills 56, 57, and 58
Second.
by 1 week.
Second.
Does he get to come talk about that, or do we just? Okay. Are there any objections? Seeing none, bills 56, 57, and 58 will be postponed by 1 week. We will now move into introduction of the allocations. Is there a motion to consider the allocations? Senator Strunk.
I move to consider the allocations. Second.
Okay, we have Bill 60, allocation to the Engineering in Medicine and Biology Society. They have requested $1,000, recommended $1,000. The allocation to Manners, they have requested $2,000. They are recommended $1,000. The allocation to On the Spot Improv Club requested $6,000 and is recommended $3,000. The allocation to the Pre-Dental Club has requested $1,000 and is recommended $1,000. The Pre-Vet Club is requested $400 and is recommended $400. And the Wrestling Club has requested $2,250 and is recommended $1,000. We will now move into introduction of legislation. Is there a motion to consider Resolution 64? Senator Glasscock.
I move to consider Resolution 64.
Second.
Will the author please come forward?
Sorry, let me get my email pulled up here. Good evening. I'm Evelyn Ediger, in case you don't know me.
Hi, Evelyn.
Hi. Okay.
I have it right here if you want it.
Do you mind? Sorry. I can't. Okay, so Resolution 23-2464, condemnation to K-State athletics. Authors Abdullah Mansour, Alondra Alvarez, Andrew Lee, Anna Heinege, Ashley Kelly, Ben Richenberg, Brayton Brugan, Brianna Neese, Brody Piles, Caden Parker, Demiris Nieto Martinez, Emma Holmes, Evelyn Ediger, Cameron Thompson, Kirsten Sipes, Nissa Olson, Sean Wagner, Sophia Glanville, Troy Pert, Jacob Hoffman, and Andrew Navarro. Sponsors Bobby Bruckner. Whereas the Kansas State University Student Governing Association, KSU SGA, has a responsibility to represent the opinions of students across campus. Whereas purchasers of student season ticket passes for football and/or basketball games should be entitled to have the ability to attend those games. Whereas in the past, student season tickets were allocated to purchasers, granting access to all games unless the student section reached maximum capacity. Whereas Kansas State Athletics recently changed the student season ticket claim process for men's basketball. Whereas possession of a student pass does not guarantee entry to every basketball game. Whereas students must now claim tickets a week before to ensure a spot within their student section. Whereas the tier system within that process is intended to benefit the most loyal fans by giving them the opportunity of claiming tickets before lower tier fans. Whereas this system within that process is whereas the system instead incentivizes students to scan their tickets and then leave to remain in their tier status. Whereas those tickets are then unavailable and prevent students who would have stayed for the basketball game from attending. Whereas the tier system does not forgive those with extraneous circumstances that prevents them from attending and consequently penalizes them for claiming their tickets, but no such penalty exists for scanning but not attending games. Whereas this change occurred after the final deadline for the purchasing of season tickets. Whereas following the alteration, students were not provided the opportunity to resell their season tickets back to K-State athletics. Whereas over 90% of 569 respondents in a survey about the current ticketing process for student season ticket holders said they were displeased with the process and wished to have it changed. Whereas KSU students expressed dissatisfaction with the inadequate communication from K-State athletics regarding these changes, and whereas it is within the prerogative of KSU SGA to advocate for and represent student interests. Section 1, be it resolved that, Section 1, the Kansas State University Student Governing Association, KSU SGA, condemns K-State athletics for the creation of the new student ticket claim process. Section 2, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to KSU men's basketball head coach Jerome Tang, Senior Director of Ticket Sales and Strategies Kimberly Pogue, Assistant AD for Ticket Operations Reed Warfield, Director of Athletics Gene Taylor, Vice President for Student Success and Academic Affairs and Dean of Students Dr. Thomas Lane, Senior Vice President for Executive Affairs, University Engagement and Partnerships, and Chief of Staff Dr. Marshall Stewart, and University President Dr. Richard H. Linton.
Are there questions or corrections for the author, Director Talbert?
Yeah, could you elaborate a little bit on that survey that you did, how it was conducted, the respondents, or any information?
Sure, yes. So it was a Snapchat poll. It was posted on the KSU 2027 page, and we did have, like I said, over 569 students respond, and 90% of them shared the sentiment that they were displeased with the ticket claim process.
Senator Koch.
Yeah, why did you guys decide to call it a condemnation instead of any other sort of negative word? Why a condemnation specifically?
Well, I believe it was just because we were just expressing how the student body feels, and the majority, like I said, was displeased. So that's kind of the direction we took.
Chair Long.
I apologize. I've never been to a basketball game. Line 42 or 43 and 44 said that students were not provided the opportunity to resell their tickets. I could have sworn Gene Taylor just said they were. Did I misunderstand that?
I don't believe that it's an official process. Students can't resell their student tickets. I mean, if you don't claim one, then the university will sell it. But if you claim a student ticket and you don't utilize it, then you technically can't sell it.
Coordinator Navarro.
No, that's good.
Okay. Senator Griffith.
Are you aware of the potential selection bias utilizing a Snapchat poll could have for you the results of your survey?
Selection bias being we just used one class, or we didn't use the whole student body specifically? Is that kind of?
That the people who would answer a Snapchat poll would be more likely to hold a negative opinion on the ticketing process.
Yeah, point of information from.
Yeah. So on Snapchat, actually, they changed it. So even if you are on the 2027 story, you are still able to see every single class. So not just the class of 27 can see that. I can see it. Anyone that uses Snapchat has access to it.
Senator Shirkey.
If what the K-State athletics system has done is so objectionable, why is your resolution only a condemnation and not some kind of firmer action?
Well, that was, right now, this is just something to get the ball rolling. We're just expressing how the student body feels. And like I said, this legislation isn't taking a firm stance to do anything else, but it's just getting the ball rolling. Yeah.
Senator Griffith.
Within our governing documents, there's a process we can do to perform a full referendum to actually poll the opinion of the entire student body. How open to doing one of those about the ticketing process would you be?
Can I ask one of my Andrew or Jacob?
Yeah, Coordinator Navarro.
One question real quick. The referendum that you're referring to is the one that is the appeals? Is that what you're talking about? Well, because as I understand, the referendum is, I think, 5% of the student body that voted in the last election, which
that might not. There's some.
And 569 is way more. But I mean, obviously, that's on a petition. Yes. Is that what you're referring to?
Senator Shirkey.
Do you have any plan for further legislation in the future that will decisively impact K-State athletics?
Can I defer that question to Jacob and Andrew?
Coordinator Navarro.
As of right now, no. We don't have any further plan. As far as I'm concerned, you want to speak on this because you're a bit more updated on it?
Yeah, this was just like Evelyn said earlier. It was just to get the ball rolling. But in the future, if we do want some more, what's the actionable process, we would love to work with you.
Director Roberts.
Thank you. I'm just curious why this wasn't brought to the attention of the athletics liaison, the executive branch.
Well, like I said, we were just expressing the opinions of the student body as a whole, or the people that we took the poll from. Does anyone want to elaborate on that?
Senator Griffith.
Wasn't a referendum in Article 9 of the Constitution, 11, sorry. There's a thing called a plebiscite where we can ask a question upon which the members of KCUSJ may express their opinions of approval, disapproval, or preference. How open would you be to asking the same question you asked on your Snapchat poll in a plebiscite?
Can I defer to Andrew?
Yeah, so the Snapchat poll really isn't like the basis of the entire legislation. It's more just like a support towards the general opinion of the student body. So technically, no, that is the official process. If this was for students to bring up, this isn't students bringing up it, it's the emerging needs class.
Time for questions has expired.
Okay, thank you. And we appreciate one of our emerging leaders getting up and reading a piece of legislation. So great job. We will now move on to Bill 232466. Will the author please come forward? Oh, Senator Griffith.
I move to consider Resolution 66.
Bill 66?
Bill 66.
Second.
Awesome.
Oh, no. Maybe.
Okay, so this is Bill 232466, Amendments to the KSU SGA Constitution regarding non-discrimination. Authors Jeremy Kamen and Peyton Lynn. Sponsors Kate Thomas. Whereas the Kansas State University Student Governing Association should continue to revise its governing documents. Whereas Article 12 of the KSU SGA Constitution enumerates a list of rights that are guaranteed to the students of KSU. Whereas these rights do not currently include a clause on non-discrimination, whereas every student at KSU should have the right to be free of discrimination on the basis of race, color, ethnicity, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, religion, age, ancestry, disability, genetic information, military status, or veteran status, and whereas KSU SGA should adopt a statement codifying this right. Be it enacted that Section 1. Article 12, Section 1201 of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association Constitution shall be amended to read as follows. Article 12, Student Rights, and then just added at the bottom, the right to be free of discrimination on the basis of race, color, ethnicity, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, religion, age, ancestry, disability, genetic information, military status, or veteran status. The enumeration of certain rights herein shall not be construed as to nullify or limit any other rights possessed by students. Section 2. This legislation shall take effect upon passage by the Student Senate, signature of the student body president, and ratification by the college councils.
Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Seeing none, thank you. We will now move into second open period. Are there any speakers for second open period? Chair Lynn.
So, coming home from last week's meeting, I honestly couldn't remember a time where I was more upset and disappointed in this organization. I have some really serious concerns with the sentiments that were expressed, particularly during Senate shoutouts last week. First of all, there were a lot of comments regarding Kate and Brady being absent and the way that the meeting went. Saying things like, Kate, save us from our suffering, was, I believe, incredibly inappropriate and disrespectful, frankly, to the people who are here running the meeting. Aside from that, I'm really tired of hearing the rhetoric that this body is not able to function without certain people being here. I think that this is a terrible attitude to have, and I need everyone to understand that if you think that we can't do business without two people here, you're gonna have a lot of problems next year when current leadership is gone. There's not a single member of this organization that is so vital to being able to get things done that we can't run a meeting without them. And I hope everyone here takes that to heart. What I found even more upsetting were some of the following comments that I'm also pretty upset that we barely even have quorum here to hear, such as, shout out to not knowing what's going on. Shout out to only one person knowing what's going on. Shout out to not wanting to be here. Shout out to being bored. Shout out to not knowing what's happening. Last week, we passed legislation to spend $5.5 million worth of student dollars in SSF contracts. Frankly, I am appalled that this was the attitude that people had while we were passing that sort of legislation. And I would like to encourage anyone here who feels like they don't know what's going on to start asking questions, pay more attention, read the legislation more thoroughly, and I think that that would help a lot of those problems. If you don't want to be here or you're so bored that you don't think that this is worth your time, I don't really know what else to say to you to help you solve that problem. I would rather have less people in this body who care what they're doing than more people who say that they don't want to be here. So if that's the case, that's your choice. You don't have to be here. So I just have never, ever left this room feeling more disappointed in the way that this organization is going. And I thought that I would share that all with you. Sure.
Are there questions for Senator Zacco?
So when you said that you would prefer people to bring up their concerns and ask questions, and like you had mentioned something about making mistakes, whatever. When I first came in as a senator, I felt like the culture here was that I couldn't ask questions and I couldn't make mistakes without being ridiculed for it publicly in front of other senators. So what is your plan, I guess, to encourage people who are committed to leading within Senate to make sure it's inclusive for newer senators?
I think we have a lot of situations where we stop a meeting to ask a question, or someone raises their placard and says that they have a question of privilege, that we're able to get things cleared up. I don't know any senators who would be upset about doing that to make sure that people are knowing what's going on if you feel like you don't know what's going on.
Senator Shirkey.
Would you be open to, I should rephrase this. What are your thoughts on a proposed amendment that would change the definition of quorum for voting purposes from percents based off of total, like, ideal amount of Senate seats to, okay, one moment. I need to make sure that I say it correctly so I get the point.
Yeah.
For the purposes of voting on a resolution, we have, like, it depends, like sometimes 51%, sometimes like 2/3, depending on what it is. Would you be, what would your thoughts be on an amendment that would change the numerical threshold for a bill being passed from, for example, majority of all senators to majority of present senators, 2/3 of all senators to 2/3 of present senators, to allow the business of the body to be conducted even during periods of low attendance?
I'm not as concerned with the threshold that it takes to pass things. I don't think that we should be changing the rules of the way we govern ourselves to match low attendance. I think that we've talked about this maybe in some previous conversations that we've had this year. I personally am not in favor of treating what I think is a symptom of a problem rather than just getting at the problem itself, which is the fact that people aren't here, not the fact that we don't have enough people to vote.
Are there further questions?
And if anyone has a question about what's going on, feel free to text me.
Are there further second open period speakers? Seeing none, we will move into Senate shoutouts.
All right. Shout out to Evelyn for doing an awesome job with questions and having her first time speaking up at Senate.
Okay, we'll move into reference of legislation. Resolution 64 is going to go to oversight, and Bill 66 is going to go to DEIB. We will now move into second roll call.
All right. Atchison. Biggs.
Here.
Blood.
Here.
Broughton.
Here.
Bruckner.
Here.
Koch.
Here.
Cuesta.
Here.
Cup.
Here.
Drotz.
Here.
Vogel. Glasscock.
Here.
Griffith.
Here.
Haynes.
Here.
Heatherman.
Here.
Hesseltine.
Here.
Hoffmans.
Here.
Jacobson.
Here.
Kirchen. Kidd.
Here.
Kermer. Lee.
Here.
Lilly. Long.
Here.
Lynn.
Here.
Mason.
Here.
Melcher. Moore.
Here.
Oury. Peterson.
Here.
Rivard. Rodriguez Melendez. Saya Carly.
Here.
Saya Nick.
Here.
Salmon. Shirkley.
Here.
Streetman. Strunk.
Here.
Winger. Wolf.
Here.
And Zacko.
She's here.
Here.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Huh? I want to share in the chat from Amy Lee, who handles finances for student government. She said, "Good night, everyone. Thank you for what you all do. It makes a difference."
We love you, Amy.
Amy watches Senate almost every week and does not need to. I would do anything for that woman. With that, is there a motion to adjourn? Senator Glasscock.
I move to adjourn until same time, same place next week.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Have a good night, everybody.